Lisa is on that Luke Belmer inner engineering wave. And I have been, but now I can see it from a totally different perspective. The more I'm learning about self-mastery through action and practice, and the more I'm learning about business, the more correspondence I can see within the two. It's so manipulative, strategic, and psychological, and very intelligent. This process can be engineered so mindfully and executed so well that you can become the best designer in the world, the designer of your life. What is the one purpose, the only purpose, and the one problem that we all share? Creation and evolution, and inconsistency within peeling back the old layers in order to create the new ones. Why? Oh, I think through logic and observation, we have all noticed that our minds have been hijacked and our systems are dysregulated. And we are the ones responsible for our actions and reactions towards that process and how we transform and re-engineer this whole design. Let me explain. So if our entire purpose is evolution, we need to create each next cycle, each loop, close the old one, get rid of the old patterns, and completely redesign and update the software in order to evolve within the new frame. And that's the difficulty that we all share. That's the thing that's super monetizable. There's so many problems that are tied to productivity, creativity. Every single mental hiccup that you might have can be monetized and sold as a solution to you, because we all share the same human problem of not being able to stay consistent and dedicated to the vision. This new loop is so unclear, and the system has been built in a way, especially presently, I mean through history it's been consistent, in a way that distracts you from wanting that vision. You're not convinced that you want it. You're not convinced that this evolution is worth it. All the odds are in favor of you staying the same and not evolving and not wanting to create, because you're not convinced that this creation is worth it. Learn the skill of convincing your mind to invest in things that are actually worth it. Become the customer that's willing to pay the price of giving up old software in return for the dream. And at the same time, become the seller who's able to present an idea in such a strategic and observant and sensitive manner that it's convincing, that it's genuinely believable that the value that you can provide through this dream, through this goal, is worth giving up everything that's familiar and comfortable. You know what I'm trying to say? Let me just show you how I do it. Let me show you the system that I've built in order to create structure within my identity. I'm pretty sure there's a specific name for it in maths, but I was never a good student in maths. I was always the intuitively wise student, so I have an understanding of it, but I just don't know how it's called. When the equation is super complicated, you need to dissect it into parts, split it into portions in order to focus and digest each one. That's what I did with my identity. I split my identity into 3 in order to help me build this system that pushes me forward and helps me achieve the new loop. A rebrand is always painful, difficult, and uncomfortable. We've talked about this. There's this new thing. You've never been there. You want to go there. Nothing is familiar, so you are not used to the new frameworks. So your old identity is reintroducing itself into your present. So you're constantly tempted to use the old software and fall back into outdated patterns. Well, peeling back layers of identity and old software is the game of your future self and ego, while you're operating within the present, transitioning self, the messy middle, the most confusing part of it all, but the most responsible part of the process, where you take intentional actions and transform them into reactions to see your life become something. I'm going to be explaining why it's so important to learn the skill of selling your dream to your stubborn ego, and how you can use practices in business in order to convince yourself, a part of you, in order to act differently. Literally sell it to yourself as if you were a customer and the seller at the same time. It's an amazing process. It actually works. I just came up with it like a few days ago. If you're familiar with branding, with marketing, with intentional and psychological approach into convincing someone, maybe using some manipulation practices, but like not unethical, just genuinely convincing someone to see the truth in what you're saying, you can get far. But this also requires this other concept that I came up with, which is splitting your identity into 3. Moving within 3 realms of time, the past and present and the future, in order to operate them, balance them. There is the transitioning self, there's the future self, which is basically the product that you're going to be presenting to your old self, which is your customer. And you're going to be trying to sell them the dream of this new lifestyle that is the solution to every problem that they might have in their present. Well, I mean, the past. But, the past wants to come back to the present. So you're basically super responsible in this present for convincing your past self to give up the old patterns and invest in this future version. You're trying to convince them to invest. But the difficulty is that you're all of them at the same time, and the past self is on a budget, and it's greedy. That person, they don't really want it. They're the uncertain type, the unsure type of a customer. They kind of see that like this life sucks and there is a problem and my business isn't running as smoothly. You're not convincing them that the value that you can provide is higher than the price that they need to pay. So what your job is as a transitioning present self is to earn their trust through presenting them a lifestyle and selling them the dream, the solution to every problem that they have. You cannot close the deal if your customer doesn't believe that your product that you're offering is valuable enough. It's not worth the price that they need to pay. Why do you believe that you can convince your ego to give up the old patterns in order to trust you with your product that you're offering, the unfamiliar future? They would have to completely let go of their identity, which is the biggest investment. It's everything that the ego has, in order to invest into something that you're vaguely presenting to them. You have to be so convincing while not desperate. Number one mistake while presenting an idea, while trying to sell someone something and close the deal, is sounding desperate. When are you most vulnerable to be sold to? When you're distracted, when you're running on autopilot. When is that? Well, most of your time, because you spend like 8 hours plus on your phone. When you're scrolling through Reels, you're very soft. You're very vulnerable and very easy to be sold to. And how do they usually pitch you the product? They find the time when you're most vulnerable, which is for your ego literally 100% of the time. And in that example case, it's just while you're scrolling on Reels. They show you the problem in your life that you have. Actually do have that problem. Or like, oh, you're bloated. That's also a problem. Okay, I do need the Bloom greens. Amazing. And they sell you the product that is the solution to your problem while you are vulnerable, which that you don't have to worry about because your old self is always vulnerable, always distracted, and always a very soft and easy target. We at least have that. So to pitch the product, the solution, the dream, you need to present the problem. When you cold call a business in order to provide them the service, you're like, what is the thing that's stopping you from your goal? You're asking them to name their problems. It's the best that your old self comes up with the problems themselves, so you don't have to sound like you're creating that problem for them. They see it on their own. They came to that conclusion on their own, so it's their problem that they are aware of. That's also a psychological trick. Now focus on visualizing the worst case scenario. Paint a very vivid, very descriptive, very emotionally engaging story, picture, whole mood board of the future and how it would unfold for your past self, for your ego, without the solution that you're providing. So in this case, without reaching that goal, without living your dream life. What is that miserable life that you would live if you're not going to stick to the goals, if you're not going to peel back the layers, if you're not going to evolve into the best version of yourself? What is that life? It's misery. And make it as descriptive as possible, as psychological as possible, and as personal as possible. Because no one knows you as well as you know yourself. No one knows your ego, your old self, as well as you know it. Use all the pain points, all the impulses, all the psychological things that you can use on your ego in order to convince yourself that it's the worst thing that can happen and you need that solution. That is your dream. You really need it. This is the part of selling. Present the problem, make it vivid and descriptive so that there is no option but to need the solution. The second step to closing the deal is always reinforcing a sense of urgency and need for your solution. As much as your ego is on a budget with money, with willingness to invest in your solution, you're in a budget with time. You need to play as if you don't actually need them to buy. You're in the nonchalant future mode. You don't need them. You're just gracefully presenting that you have the ability to solve their issue, but you don't actually need them. In fact, we don't actually have time. You who needs my solution. I don't really need you. We have like 5 minutes on this call and I'm on to the next. Your life is going to be extremely miserable if you don't change anything. Use all the pain points that you know that your ego has, all the childhood trauma, because you are literally trying to manipulate yourself into believing something. That's the easiest thing possible because you know yourself deeply. You know every impulse that you have, every weakness When you're trying to genuinely sell something to someone, you don't know their weaknesses, you don't know their pain points. You can guess, you can stalk, you can, analyze their business and then kind of try to figure out what you could solve for them. But you literally know your ego, so use it. Just sit with it, not distracted, and use it in your advantage. Then the third step, the cutest, the most appealing, is to be descriptive with the dream. Sell the mood board, sell the visualization, sell the lifestyle. This is the branding part of selling the solution. That's when you can have the most fun. Because you started from being very descriptive with the worst case scenario, then reinforcing the urgency and need for your solution. The third step is probably the most important. Making the dream super vibrant, colorful. It's like a cartoon. It's just the most juiciest fruit in the world. The service that you're offering isn't only the only solution that they have, it's the lifestyle that they always dreamt of. It's so descriptive, so emotionally engaging, so personal to them because, as I said, you know your ego best. You can use every possible weakness, psychological impulse, anything that you can use in order to paint this picture in a way that's convincing to buy. Would you buy it? I would, because I know what to use in myself. I love visual things, imagining in a way where I can see someone living what I want to live, put myself in their shoes. I put myself in and just figure out how it would feel. I started through words. I needed to name this new era somehow. There was this huge wave of lock-ins. Like, we never used this word until a few months ago. Everyone, also the winter arc. It's a great example. Our parents don't know what a glow up is, because we created this word. Our generation needed to brand a transformation, a personal development project somehow, to stick to it collectively. What are other examples? Hamza branded his transformation process. What are the names? Jeffrey and Adonis? It's branding that uses names to provoke an emotion, to spark some kind of an impulse in you, to then force you into a chain of actions, So you think about a Jeffrey and you're like, oh, I don't want to be Jeffrey. This is selling the worst case scenario. Then you're thinking, oh, Chad. I would love to be Chad. You know what I mean? You're selling the dream. And then through a very long and descriptive and emotional and maybe manipulative, strategic, psychological process, you're selling them this urgency and need for transformation. You're telling them, describing in all these different ways, using all the pain points and all the impulses. To show them that your solution is the only solution that there is. The psychological game of convincing yourself that the value that you have is higher than the price that needs to be paid. That's it. Life is business. Need a shirt like that. I'm gonna screen print a bunch of shirts with all my sayings. So now that you know my systems that I use, my split identity disorder and life as business, Try and fail as much as possible. I'm not selling you the solution to all of your problems. I'm giving you a system that you will be trying and failing with if you try. The more you fail, the sooner you fail, the faster you fail, the faster you will get to the goal. The faster you will learn how to sell, because that's the goal within this video. The goal of this video is to learn how to sell the dream to yourself, not to get the dream. Okay? Focus on who you are right now. Ground yourself within this identity of the responsible, transitioning, becoming self, who doesn't want to be the old self and needs the old self to buy the future self, because it is in your interest to become the future self. And I just want you to keep trying to stay consistent even when you fall short. Each day that you don't stick to the routine is another opportunity to stick to the routine tomorrow. You have to send so many emails. You have to approach so many people, so many cold calls, so many rejections, so many failed attempts just to get that one good deal closed, just to get that one proper sale. And it is high ticket because the old self is on the budget. I told you, everything is high ticket to that little weak, stubborn ego. You just gotta learn. Also, one interesting thing, I used the same technique that I shared within this video while I was coming up with the name of this video. I could call this all those videos that you probably already watched. You don't want it bad enough, or you don't need motivation, you need a stronger why. We know these concepts, they're familiar, but I thought never watched a video that connected business and self-mastery, like inner engineering. So it's an interesting and new concept that provokes a different feeling. What do you mean sell a dream to myself? So I thought, let me name it that. That's sort of that selling process that I used within explaining the selling process. So it's all about the details, all about the visual, all about the lifestyle that you're trying to sell, all about the words that you choose in order to brand an idea that you want people to buy or you want your old self to buy. It doesn't have to be the most perfect, the most extraordinary, the ideal version, because there is no perfect moment. Make it functional. That's the only thing that it needs to do. To inspire emotion, to make you feel something, because that's the function of art. The function of a business is to solve a problem. Does it solve the problem? It is functional. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you will perfect it as you go. Let's use a brand example. Look at Broken Planet, the streetwear Broken Planet brand. It's not the most extraordinary, unique brand in the world. The most basic bubbly font, the most basic graphics. I'm not hating, I'm just objective. It's nothing too special about it, but the way they sold it is special. You're sold a lifestyle, a community, a certain feeling of belonging. All the UGC creators, all the entrepreneurs and influencers, all the models that have been collaborating with them are specifically picked to represent a very particular feeling, and they're solving an issue of missing out. When you buy their hoodie, you're instantly a part of it. You're belonging to this cool group of friends and models and entrepreneurs and just the swaggiest people in the world. Is it the most extraordinary, special, and unique idea in the world? Is it perfect? No, but it's functional. So try. Try and try and try and fail, cold call, and get better every day.